Hey, what's up guys? It's episode 3, Closed with Justin Jacobs. Let's go on a walk today. So I'm currently in downtown Orlando. It might be a little bit loud on this episode, but I'm gonna do my best to find a nice quiet spot for us to chat today for episode 3. What are the things that matter most to an agent, especially metrics? As an agent, you should be paying attention to a few things in your career. The first would be how many clients you currently have and how much money you're making. I'm gonna cross this road because there's people looking at me in their cars. This is awkward. So outside of money, outside of clients, what are some things that you really should be considering as an agent? I think you should probably be looking at your retention, how long your clients are staying on your book of business. You should probably look at certain clients that might be always changing, or the clients that are troublemakers. You know, these are folks that you kind of see always blowing up your phone. And one thing you might want to consider is how much more time and energy would you have if that person wasn't a client of yours? So I know it sounds kind of not so great to talk about, but would it make more sense for you to go out and look for a different client versus banging your head up against a wall when your client calls you and they're always upset, they're always angry, they're always having some type of customer service issue? And if you're finding yourself in that trap with certain clients, it is okay to fire them. I had to do this once. There was a guy, he was kind of stalking me, and he was just always calling me, like literally every day. There's no doubt he had some type of mental health issue, and he really did need a little bit of help, and I couldn't give it to him without him becoming upset, irate, coming into the office and yelling at my staff and blowing up our phones. So I had to send a certified letter. And let me tell you, I was relieved when he was gone. So he doesn't call me anymore. He must have found another victim. In that case, it's just one of those things that you just move on from life, you know? There's really no reason to have to put up with abuse, especially from clients. It's just, life is too short. So find better clients to work with. I think another thing that agents really should be paying attention to is your rapid disenrollment rate. How many clients, on average, are disenrolling within the first 90 days of you getting them on the books? Rapid disenrollment rates are being tracked at the CMS level, at the carrier level. And certain carriers, not all of them, but certain carriers do find that metric very important. It often will indicate that an agent is either, churning that business for unethical reasons, or the agent isn't properly trained, or the agent just doesn't give a whatever about client service and all of the other stuff that goes along with being an agent. So if that is the case with you, you really need to watch your rapid disenrollment rate. All right, I'm thinking about other metrics that you might want to care about. My arm's getting tired, so I'm going to move it to this arm. Ow. I'm really hoping these mics are picking up this blog pretty well. It's a little windy out today, overcast. It's not the most beautiful Central Florida day, but I'm gonna walk down by Lake Eola and hopefully get some more content for you as I'm getting my steps in. Okay, other metrics, other things you gotta pay attention to in your book of business. I would also say, what's your spread on your portfolios? For instance, is your book of business top heavy with Medicare? Is it top heavy with ACA? You know, maybe your spread is a little risky. Maybe you have a really big book of business for ACA and something happens with ACA and now you've got to scramble and pivot to learning a whole new set of skills and skill sets. We've seen this happen where ACA premiums go up so high that now we see agents are finally becoming interested in Medicare. And I want to offer Medicare Advantage plans and I want to offer Medicare supplements now because my clients have been asking me for years and now I'm really not making the money that I used to make because premiums are going up or all of my clients are being deported or whatever it is that happens every year. It's really good to keep a metric on your spread as far as where your customers are living. I think another good metric would really be looking at how many clients you have one product with, how many clients you have multiple products with. So one of the things I've been promoting at our agency is ancillary products and offering ancillary products for several different reasons. The first reason is really creating that stickiness and retention within your book of business, but also making sure that your clients are properly protected from the gaps that happen in the insurance plans that they have. Hospital indemnity is a great example of that. In Medicare Advantage, one of the hottest products is the give back plans. But the give back plans are not so great when you're looking at it from a hospital copay during the day. So your hospital copays are higher on those give back plans. But what if for 20 or 30 bucks extra, you can give them that give back plan and lower their hospital copays? Now, this does a couple things. Obviously, they get to have their cake and eat it too, which is great. But next year, when the hospital copay goes through the roof, you're not having to drive around or jump on a phone call with every single one of your clients that's on that plan and having to change them again. So what would that do to your daylight as an agent for your AEP? You know, if you knew that 20% of your book of business had these hospital indemnity plans and you notice a trend that those people are not moving, then how much time and energy would you save in an AEP by not having to run around and change those members? So then you start strategizing a little bit more. Maybe you're thinking, okay, this year I'm going to really focus on getting the 30 or 40% of my clientele on those hospital indemnity plans. And now you got a strategy. Now you are going out and making smart choices and talking to your clients and planting the seed and getting them better protected and asking for referrals. Everywhere you should be asking for referrals every single time. It's just one of those things that you always have to be doing if you really want to make a difference in your career. So if you work with physicians, doctors, you might want to pay attention on how many clients you have with certain doctors' offices, because if something funky happens with that relationship, whether it's at a carrier level or even with you, you got to be prepared to pivot quick. So, I don't know, if you have 35% of your book of business with a certain doctor group, you might want to pay attention to that in case they fold or they cancel one of the plans because they're PO'd that they didn't get what they wanted out of them. That happens too. And guess who has to clean up that mess? You do. You've got to go change their plan. So I like to spread it out a bit. I'm not saying don't work with certain doctors, but there are certain doctors that maybe you shouldn't put all your business in one basket, is what I'm saying. All right, I'm almost to Lake Eola here. I'm gonna flip the camera around so you guys can see this. It's really kind of cool looking. This is our iconic fountain here in Orlando. We got people on swans today. Pretty exciting. So other metrics you might want to pay attention to is, where are your clients geographically? Are they all in one area? Are they on one side of the city? Are they on, kind of like one particular zip code or whatever? That is something that I think you could pay attention to, especially if you wanted to do client retention campaigns, or if you wanted to do something along the lines of, a client appreciation event. We had an agent that did a geographical research, and I think Google Maps can do this. You can upload all of the addresses for your clients, and it will put pin marks on the map where all of your clients live, which is really, really cool, because then you can coordinate. You're like, oh wow, most of my clients are on this side of town for whatever reason. Maybe you just did a lot of business there, or maybe you got a lot of referrals there, whatever that looks like. But, that'll help you decide where you should do your marketing, where you should do your client appreciation events, and those types of things. So paying attention to geography is important too, I think. So that's one thing that you might want to consider tracking. Income, commissions. Oh man, don't get me started on commissions. Let me tell you. There's so many agents that are just not tracking their commissions. It's kind of disappointing, surprising, disheartening. This is how you make money, like, how are you not tracking your commissions just blows my mind. And then breaking it down per carrier, what's your spread look like? Do you have more business with United Healthcare than you do Aetna, than you do Cigna, than you do WellCare? What specifically does that spread look like? And I think it's important to really pay attention to those things, because again, if one of the carriers decides to leave, how important that block of business is.
Oh, you having one of those?
And then, instead of panicking, you have a game plan. This is where having a really great CRM comes into place. Your CRM really should be the heart and soul of what you do, because you can pull data and organize it very quickly. I think that's a really big, awesome, easy thing that you can do. Our CRM system now is bubbling up clients that are subject to terminate because their plan's going out of business, or the benefits are going through the roof. That's another thing that's happening out there. So ensuring that you have that data and you know what the heck is going on, you'll be notified. So all of that, all of those metrics, really start thinking about the different ways that you can be tracking your business. Whew. I'm getting my steps in today, and I'm teaching people. I like this. So going back to commissions really quick, I will say it's one of the weakest points that agents really pay attention to, and it's just surprising, because that's how you make your money, man. How are you not tracking it? I think the easiest way to track commissions is, it's probably the cheapest way too, just open up an Excel spreadsheet and put your client's name on a line, and you have 12 columns on that line, and you mark Y or N if you got paid for that month. So you have January, February, March, so on for the rest of the month. And then you can organize it by carrier. So you open up your carrier and you know who you should have on your book of business, and then you can track it back. That's one way you can do it. Our agency has an auditing service. We can You can hire us to audit your commissions. It's another thing you could do, is hire somebody to do it. I'm sure they've got people on Fiverr, freelanced accounters, accounting people to review your commissions, process your commissions, and make sure that you're getting paid for who you should be getting paid for. I think there's this sentiment from agents that, yeah, my deposit is plus or minus right about where it needs to be every month, so I don't really take a look at it. Oh man, that's so bad. You could be losing like thousands of dollars, and the carriers aren't going to call you up and be like, hey, we forgot to pay you last month. No, it doesn't work that way. So, might be a good idea for you to take a look at tracking your commissions. How about that? Other metrics too, if you're really growing your book of business, if you're really doing quite a bit of marketing, you really need to be tracking your return on investment, or ROI. Is your return on investment matching your efforts for a particular marketing campaign? So, are you, I don't know, maybe you're running an ad in a newsletter at a senior facility. You've been doing it for a year. How many clients have you gotten out of that? What was your return on investment? Out of those clients, what did the actual profit or revenue come in from that? And does it meet or exceed the cost of running that ad? And if it meets or exceeds it, then it might make sense for you to continue it. If it doesn't, then move on to something else that does, because I see a lot of agents that get stuck in their ways. Like, oh, I always do this event every year. And then I ask them, okay, well, how much does it cost? And do you get business out of it? Yeah. How much? What does that represent? And do you have a positive ROI on those events? Sometimes it's a little harder to track. So, for example, maybe you're doing marketing, you do an event, you don't get a sale right away, but you get, 5 leads, 10 leads, and 6 months later, you finally convert that person. One way to keep track of that stuff, again, CRM. Are you tracking your lead sources? You can run reports against your lead sources. What leads are working, or what lead channels are working, versus the time and effort and money that you're really putting into this kind of stuff. Does it make sense for you to continue those activities? And if it does, congratulations, keep going. If it doesn't, it gives you a chance to pivot and go and do something else. So that's what I'll say about metrics. We got all the swans out today. There's tons of swans. Hold on, I'm gonna get a little bit closer. Show you guys all the swans we got going on today. It's nice and cool here. It's about 70 something degrees. Really excited about this episode. This one's a little bit different. Might have a lot of background noise in this one because I'm live in the world, but this should be a fun little podcast. All right, I'm gonna get as close as I can. Here we go, here's a nice swan. In summary, I think it's really important that you track quite a few metrics as an agent. It's really gonna give you a lot more insight on your activity, what you're doing, and seeing what works and what doesn't work. And if you aren't tracking certain efforts, you can't measure certain efforts. And if you can't measure certain efforts, then it's gonna be real hard for you to iterate on that and get better at being an agent. So start tracking the metrics that matter the most to you. This concludes episode 3. That's 3 in the bag. Again, I'm gonna try to do this for 52 weeks, and we're gonna do different fun videos. We're gonna have some guests. We are gonna be talking about some tech, and I'm gonna try to keep you entertained if I can. And just really thankful for you guys watching and listening to this. Again, the only thing I ask is if you can subscribe and share this channel. Really appreciate it. If you know an agent that needs to be saved, send them this way, and we will do our best to give them the info they need to crush it in their career. Thanks again. We will see you next week. I'm Justin Jacobs. This is Closed. You have a nice day.